Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenithan, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today we have the first champion revealed for the upcoming set Beyond the Bandlewood. It's a Yordle, of course, because it's pretty much a Yordle set. It's Poppy, a fan favorite from League of Legends. We have Poppy now, and as most people thought, she is a Demacia card. Technically a Demacia Bandle City multi-region card, but it's a really decent card in my opinion. No new keywords though, so just Poppy and some support cards like we usually get when we have champions. So we're not gonna have to analyze a new keyword or any kind of new mechanic like prank. So don't know how long this video is gonna be, but let's get into it and not just ramble for a bit and look at Poppy and see what she does. All right. Like I said, lots of cards, but no new keyword. Impact is already been revealed in the previous days, so not really a new mechanic, new keyword. So let's get right into it. Poppy. What does she do? And is she good? Well, 4 mana, 4/3, Yordle. Okay. Still haven't seen any Yordle synergy, but again, that might be important. Demacia, Bandle City, multi-region. Cool, cool. Multi-region's always nice, gives you a little bit of versatility. Pretty good. So, what does she do? Attack. Grant me and all allies with equal or less power than me +1/+1. To level up, Poppy has to attack with allies 3 times. That's a very tough level up condition, to say the least. So, let's start by evaluating Poppy without even looking at her level 2 form. She's pretty good. I think. In my opinion, I think Poppy is a good card. I think if Poppy was not a champion and it was just a 4 mana 4/3 that said the attack line, you would play this card because it's a grant. It's not a temporary buff. That's a permanent +1/+1. Sure, the stats are kind of meh for a 4-drop, especially defensively. So if you had to drop Poppy for defense, you're kind of sad because you want to attack in with Poppy. But this is kind of a banner man. That's how I'm looking at Poppy. If you get one attack with Poppy, even if she trades, you still pretty much got +1/+1 on your allies. Sure, you might miss 1 or 2 because she only buffs those who have less or equal power to her. But in general, I'd say, if especially on curve, Poppy's going to buff pretty much your entire board. If you get the attack, of course. And like I said, I think that's a very, very strong effect. And if that was it, and Poppy wasn't a champion, I think Poppy is strong enough. The problem is Poppy's a champion, so I think you can't just be a good card if you're a champion. You need to have a little bit more to warrant the champion slot because you're limited to how many champions you can play in a deck, of course. And I think the leveled up version of Poppy does give you enough power. And of course, it is a repeatable effect too with level 1, the attack. So you could technically combine this with, say, some rallies like Relentless Pursuit, Golden Aegis. Anyway, where was I? I lost my train of thought for a second. Oh yeah, I was talking about Poppy. Right. But yeah, level 2 Poppy. Pretty good in my opinion. Now, +2/+2. That's pretty good. Like, just that alone is pretty good. Like, sure, it's only like, sure, +1/+1 more than her level 1 form, but the stats start to get out of control. She now has impact 2, which it's very aggressive, and she gives impact to the rest of her board. And we know impact can stack, so if something already has impact, it will become impact 2, impact 3, impact 4, so on and so forth. Now you might say, like, well, if you're attacking in with Poppy a lot of the time, aren't you already winning? It's kind of like leveling up Misfortune. If you've been able to attack with Misfortune on the field, like 4 times, 3 times, whatever it is for Misfortune to level, aren't you already in a good spot? I won't say no. I agree, yeah. But still, I think the potential for Poppy just eating removal and forcing your opponent to put all their focus on killing her is strong. All you have to really do is get one attack, and I feel like you've basically gotten value. Like, you've gotten, I mean, I guess your opponent could technically, in theory, use a stun too, of course, like concussive palm after you play Poppy to stun Poppy so you don't get the buff, which is not terrible. But yeah, I like the card. I think overall Poppy is a strong card. Her champion spell, though, a little bit bad. Keeper's Verdict, 6 mana slow spell, place an enemy unit on top of the enemy deck. It's kind of meh. In fact, I'm kind of not even a big fan of it at all. I think it's just bad. It's not, it's one of these champ spells that's like, as a spell itself, it's bad, but as a champ spell, I'm not too upset by it. It's better than other champions who have just garbage champ spells, like Irelia is a good example. Vanguard's Edge is terrible. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. It's pretty weak. Maybe Bandle City has some like weird synergy with a card like this. But even then, I'm not too sure. Basically, I look at this and I'm like, oh, this is like sunk cost. Sure, you can say like, well, sunk cost goes to the bottom, or not bottom. It just goes randomly into the deck, I think, and it can hit landmarks. Sure, but I'd say this is just better than sunk cost in general, which is not a big feat, but still. But again, like I said, maybe if Bandle City or some other region has some kind of weird, like, do something at the top of your opponent's card kind of effect, maybe this will be cute as a card you would even put in your deck. But outside of that kind of weird card, I would never play this card in my deck. But yeah, back to Poppy herself. I like her. I think she is a very powerful card. I'm not even a big mid-range fan, but I'm already thinking of some ways to brew Poppy. There's a lot. I like that Poppy doesn't seem to go with one champion and nothing else. She seems very viable with a lot of different champions, a lot of different regions, unlike other champions who seem to be locked into one game plan, one region, one other champ they pair with. Poppy seems like she could go with a lot of things. So I've been thinking like Lulu, Shen, Lucian, etc., etc. Like, I think you can do like a classic Demacia mid-range style deck with Lucian. 3 Lucian, 3 Poppies, and then the rest of the decks, like, in terms of units, you play, your standard Demacia mid-range cards, Fleet Feather Trackers, Laurent Proteges, Bright Steels, Genevieve, Cytherea as your finishers. Maybe you want to do some Screeching Dragons in there. You throw in like the typical spell suite for Demacia, so Sharp Sights, Riposte, Concerted Strike. The main reason I like Lucian is because his champ spell, which is Relentless Pursuit, he gets buffed by Poppy. You can also play more Relentless Pursuit, some Golden Aegises, etc., etc. Try like to level up Poppy that way with rallies. I like it. I like the idea. How good is that idea? I'm not sure, but we'll have to see it. I think Poppy is a good card. I think some of these support cards are good, but let's talk about some of these other cards besides Poppy. We've been rambling about Poppy for a while now. And the first one we got, it's a great card. Like, honestly, this is probably one of the best 1-drops in the game. Yordle Squire. 1 mana, 2/1, Yordle. Play, create a tiny spear or a tiny shield in hand. I assume you get to choose, of course. This card's great. First off, Yordle synergy, if it ever exists. That's great. And a 1 mana 2/1 is a fine body by itself. Like, very just decently defensive, trades well in the early game. And then it generates a card too. Like, sure, Tiny Spear and Tiny Shield aren't great. And they are focused, not burst speed, so you can't use them in combat as a combat trick, but I like it. I don't think this is the best 1-drop in the game. I think the best 1-drop that's a non-champion is Treasure Seeker, the 1 mana 2/1 that creates a Waking Sands when you summon it. This card, though, is, in my opinion, a very close contender for the number 1 slot. I really like the versatility that the spear and shield give you. Take the shield if you want to buff something outside of, say, ping range, like a, I don't know, a Green Glade duo or something. Buff something if you want to make it hit harder, or, you know, if you want to buff Poppy even, so Poppy can buff more things. Seems pretty good. And like I said earlier, 1-mana 2/1s are definitely playable. Lunari Duskbringer, the 1-mana 2/1 that creates the Dawn Petal Dusk or Dusk Petal Dusk or whatever it's called. I have definitely played it and seen others play it in decks that have literally no Nightfall cards and just using it as something to discard to, say, like Spacey Sketcher. And, well, this is pretty much a stack card, but better for those kind of decks. So, big fan of it. Definitely like it. Very, very good against aggressive decks as a defensive card. Pretty decent as a 1-drop too for the aggressive decks as well because of Tiny Spear. Solid card. The next few cards, though, most of them not so solid. Yordlesmith. 2-mana 2/2. Attack. Seem like there's a nice like little attack units that do like attack, they do something kind of thing they're doing here. But yeah, Yordlesmith, attack. Give all allies with equal or less power than me quick attack this round. That effect is good, don't get me wrong. Giving everything quick attack is very powerful. And we know that because Severe has been very popular recently, and she levels up a lot and gives everything quick attack, sometimes spell shield, and even elusives and more. And it's very annoying. Unlike Severe, you can't stun or kill the Yordlesmith to remove the quick attack, if I'm reading him correctly. The issue I have is, while it is good to give everything quick attack, his base attack, his base power is so small. 2. Sure, he's a 2-drop, but it's going to be hard to give other things quick attack besides, well, itself. And I know the theory is, well, you play Yordlesmith, you'll buff it with Poppy, maybe you'll pre-commit by using a combat trick like a Shapestone or Twin Disciplines or Riposte or Sharp Sight on it before, but it's a little clunky. But I don't know. We've never had cards like this that buff things that have less power, though, so it's going to be kind of a wait and see kind of thing here. We're going to have to see just exactly how much support this archetype gets and stuff, but I think there might be a buff archetype, buff kind of mid-rangey archetype, like mid-range buffs matter kind of archetype in Bandle City, so I could see this card being played, but again, like I said, it's a little bit mediocre as a 2-drop. Next card, though, Pompous Cavalier. So, I've gone back and forth on my thought process on this guy. 3-mana 1/1, also Yordle. It's a multi-region card, so it's both Demacia and Bandle City, so that's cool. You can play in like a Demacia Bilgewater card, so that's cool. Or deck. Again, 3-mana 1/1 double attack. That's it. Meh. Like, my first reaction when I see this card is just meh. Like, I'm paying 3 mana for a 1/1? Sure, double attack is a scary keyword, which is the most likely reason for this card being extremely understated for its cost. And I believe, actually, quick note, this is the second follower to actually have quick attack. Because I know there's, I say follower because I know level 2 Lucian has, I said quick attack, I meant double attack. But I know level 2 Lucian has double attack, but the only other thing that has double attack as a follower I can think of is that Ionia card, the 6-mana one. I think it's called Horns of the Dragon. It's something of the Dragon. I'm pretty sure it's Horns. It's the 6-mana 4/6 with double attack. And that card has seen very, very, very little play, mostly as a meme in like some Dragon Rage decks with Might. And the issue I always felt with that is like, it's a really expensive card that's a little easy to disrupt. The Cavalier, though, I don't know. Like, you obviously need to have some support with the Cavalier. So either that is going to be through combat tricks or buffs. So I've seen some people say like, oh, go to Targon, you get Mentor of Stones. Obviously, you can use Poppy, like curving Cavalier into Poppy's kind of cute. I'm just not seeing it in my personal opinion. I just don't see these. I don't see this guy just making it. 1 health is so bad for just even 2 drops. And this guy's a 3 drop. You're giving your opponent so much time to deal with it. And you might be able to argue, like, well, that's also a good thing, too. It's a card that, when it comes down, it's a must remove for the opponent because, again, like I said earlier, double attack is very scary. You can get killed out of nowhere with a double attack with a few buffs. And of course, like I said earlier with Poppy, same applies to this guy. Rallies are scary too. So yeah, a little scary, but I'm not convinced this guy is going to have a big impact on the meta. But I can see myself dying to this guy. I'm ready to have myself just die to like someone who plays like Cavalier into like Shapestone, Ghost, etc., etc. Actually, you couldn't play all 3 cards at once, but whatever. You know what I'm saying. I'm ready to die to someone who just like busts a really big Cavalier that I don't decide to block for some reason. Next card. I think this card is good. This next one, Stress Defense. I've seen some people say like this card's mediocre, and I've seen some people even say it's bad. I don't think this card's bad. I think it's actually good. It's the arguably second combat trick for Bandle City we've seen, because you can argue Shell Game. I think that's the name of the card. The one that says it's like the 5 mana, refill your spell mana, give something +1/+1 and elusive for the turn. That's technically a combat trick. But yeah, this card, I like it. Big fan of it. And the main reason is how versatile it is. I'm a big fan of cards with a lot of versatility. And this card is it. That's why I liked Three Sisters. It was so because of its versatility. And you might say, like, what do you mean, streamer? How is this a versatile card? Read the card. It says just set a unit. It doesn't say friendly or enemy or anything. So you can hit the enemy units. That's a good thing. Okay? Let's say, like, because you might say, like, oh, your opponent's attacking a 5/5, or I don't know, let's use Merciless Hunter. Your opponent uses Merciless Hunter and they target Poppy and they try to kill your Poppy with their Merciless Hunter just as a trade. Stress Defense, you could, in theory, Stress Defense your Poppy, make her a 1/6 against their 4/3, which it's not a terrible idea, but then all they have to do is play like a Shapestone or a Sharpsight even. But on the other hand, you could just Stress Defense their Merciless Hunter, and it's much harder for their in other words, they have more ground to make up in terms of stats to kill your Poppy compared to if you had Stress Defense your own Poppy instead. They now have to make up for what, like 2? It's actually the same amount both ways, but you get what I'm saying. It's also really annoying, really good, I guess, as well, against certain cards. Annoying for the people who play those cards. Like Lee Sin, your opponent tries to buff Lee Sin. You Stress Defense to protect yourself from just dying in one turn to Lee Sin. Champs that grow throughout the game, so like Viego and Nasus. It doesn't remove keywords. Quick note though. So, Viego and level 2 Nasus will still have fearsome, elusive champs, and elusive cards will still have elusive. But I like it. It's very good. You can use it very, very nice. I mean, it goes with its name. It's a very good defensive card. I'm not sure exactly how many of these I would want to play in my deck. It's a little expensive for a combat trick, though. 3 mana is a decent amount of mana. Not too much, but it's a little expensive for a combat trick, though. But yeah, I'm very impressed by its defensive capabilities because you can use it on enemy units. Now then, the next card. Last 2 cards. First off, Heroic Charge. That's all I have to say is meh. 5 mana, slow spell, an ally strikes an enemy. If it survives, stun it. Just meh. Siphoning Strike is also a 5 mana strike spell, but I think that's just a better card and it's not even good. Siphoning Strike says basically ally strikes an enemy. If it kills it, champions get +2/+2. This is much worse in my opinion. Sure, the stun is nice and all, as it's like, even if your opponent's able to protect their unit, it's still unable to act for that round. So if it's on defense, it will still stun their strong card. But yeah, I'm not impressed by this card. And then of course you can compare it to like Demasia's combat fight spells, but that's kind of their thing. So single combat, concerted strike. Even Shurima has good stuff. Things like grappling hook. Grappling hook's pretty good. You can also argue like it's a strike. They're not striking each other, so your unit is in theory safe. Sure, but it's 5 mana. That's a lot of mana. I will say this though, and this is the only thing I will say about it, and the only reason I think it might actually see a little play. I think this is the first quote unquote removal spell. It's definitely the first strike spell we've seen from Bandle City. So you might have to play this card anyway if you're a Bandle City deck because you just need the interaction, and this might be just all Bandle City has. But just looking at this in a vacuum and just looking at it right away, my gut tells me this card's just bad, and I don't think it'll see too much play. Maybe like a 1 or a 2 of in more Bandle City control decks. But I feel like a Bandle City control style deck will probably have its other region to fill up the removal suite. So, like Demacia, Shadow Isles, Noxus, etc., etc. And the last card, Yordle Ranger. In a vacuum, I think this card is good. The problem is you can't just evaluate a card in a vacuum. So, what's this card do? 6 mana, 5/5, Yordle. It's also a multi-region card. It's Demacia and Bandle City. It has Scout. Scouts have been kind of bad recently, so hooray for the Scout players. Did I say it's a 5/5? Well, it's a 5/5. When this card attacks, similar to Poppy and Yordlesmith, it has something it does. Grant me and all allies with equal or less power than me, +0/+1. So it's kind of like half of a Poppy thing. That's pretty good. So it's a 6 mana 5/6 on the first attack, and 5/5 is a pretty solid stat line that's hard to remove. And Scout's a pretty good keyword. The reason I say in a vacuum this card looks good, but when you compare it to the other cards in the game, I'm not too impressed, is the kind of deck that plays this, which is pretty much Scouts, has better cards. Especially just in the mana slot alone. Like, this is obviously a Scout card. So Scouts are what? Bilgewater, Demacia. In Demacia alone, you already have 6 mana Cytherea. Cytherea the Bold, I think is the full name. And then you also have Genevieve. They're both 6 mana drops that Scouts play, and in my opinion, are just better than this card. Genevieve just gives +1/+1 to everything when she's summoned. Sure, it's only temporary, but then she also has challengers and scouts, so she can get rid of something to make way. And then Cytherea, we all know what 6 mana Cytherea does, giving everything +1/+1 and fearsome besides her, of course. And then as well, in Bilgewater, you also have Citrus Courier as well, so there's even more. And I think Sheriff Lariat Rose, but no one really plays her though. So yeah, I think the card is good in a vacuum, but I'm not sure this card will see play because it pretty much is only in a Scout deck, and Cytherea and Genevieve are just better. Maybe in some weird... I can see this being played in a non-Demacia Scout deck that it's like some, like maybe Bandle City Bilgewater, because there are... I don't know. Maybe there will be enough Scouts in Bandle City and Bilgewater together so you can cut Demacia and you can play Yordle Ranger and Citrus Courier, and then you don't need Cytherea and Genevieve because, well, one, you're not playing Demacia. So maybe that way. But if you're a Demacia Bilgewater Scout deck, I'm not too impressed by this card. I'd rather just play Cytherea or Genevieve instead, is all I'm saying. But yeah, that's it. I think that is all for today. Great champion. Poppy's looking cute. And the card itself looks pretty strong. Yordle Squires seems like a solid one-drop, top-tier one-drop in my opinion. Definitely like one of the best one-drops in the game when it releases, in my opinion. Stress Defense looks really fun and just looks pretty sweet and interesting. Yordle Smith and Cavalier, I'm not too impressed by either of them, but I can see some potential for both of them. Same for Yordle Ranger. Heroic Charge is meh, but it's interaction, and we don't know how much interaction Bandlewood is going to have, so we might just have to play it. And Keeper's Verdict is mediocre. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think Poppy is garbage. Maybe you have an idea of how to build Poppy that I didn't mention. Maybe you think there's a champ I forgot when I was mentioning like Poppy champs to pair up with, which I think I said Lucian, Lulu, Zed, Shen. Maybe you think there's something I'm missing. Maybe another champion would be good to pair up with Poppy in your opinion. I'd love to hear your opinions on how you would build Poppy. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, though, I'd love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel, of course. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can always go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zeniton. I stream there pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye!